Garage's Shop Talk. Of course, as always, I am here with my brother, Pablo, and myself, Alex. We're live on Instagram. For those of you who listen just on Spotify or Apple, if you guys are just listening, definitely check out our Instagram at the Heist Garage. We do the days they're recorded, they're live, so you can actually see us until we get our actual video up and running. And yeah, you can just see what we're doing, and you can interact with us through the live chat. We do get that a couple times throughout the show, usually from the same people, but it doesn't hurt to have new people. And yeah, it's just something we do that we started doing to kind of reach out.
If you don't want to wait till the next day.
Yeah, exactly. You get it live on the Instagram. I gotta admit the sound quality is better if you're just listening, because you can hear it through our podcast mics. And these are, not that they're bad, but you know, it's an Amazon mic, and it's just on Instagram. It's just it doesn't give you that podcast sound.
It picks everything up.
It picks everything up, the echoes. But these pod mics that my brother had purchased in the beginning of the year, they're really good. Speaking of that, I know it's the beginning of a work week, and there's nothing harder than going back to work. Like, when I used to work at Firestone, you always had work left over. So it was always like, okay, if you work Sunday, you got to go back Monday.
Whatever you didn't finish.
Whatever you didn't finish. And where I'm working now, we do get that every now and then, but we usually try and pace ourselves so we finish everything on that Friday. And so, you know, we don't really do that much where I'm currently working, but it does happen. And not that it happened this week, we were fine. But it's still the grind of like, okay, I got to wake up.
You gotta get back.
And then this morning was the worst. It's legit winter weather. There's all kinds of rain.
Dude, at the apartment where we live, the manager was out there like at 5 a.m.
Just
like
because your guys is the freaking parking too.
No, not the parking, but in the front where the apartments are. Damn, what is it called? The sewer line.
Oh, the sewer drain.
The drain. There you go. The drain.
Yeah.
Like the water picks up all the trash and stuff from the plants.
Yeah, and
so
it just piles up
out there. And then while he was doing that, like I was, asleep before I got up to go to work.
Yeah.
And you could hear the water like glug, 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 glug. It sounded scary. I was like, dude, what is that? I looked out the window and it was just the water, like it looked like a manhole or like a whirlpool, just doop doop, like everything's
just draining.
Bad. It was pouring last night.
Yeah, it sucks too, because like when you drive in this weather, I don't know, people just don't know how to drive. You hear that all the time. If you live in Southern California, you hear that all the time, that people that live in Southern California, they don't know how to drive in the rain. And it's like, well, yeah, we don't get much rain, but
come on, guys.
As a Southern Californian, it does get really bad. Like, if you're too scared, and this goes back to whatever podcast episode we were talking about, people driving in the fast lane that are slow. But if you're too scared and you're going like 40 on the freeway, 30, 25, like, you gotta either face your fears. And listen, I'm here to say, my tires are really bad right now, and I feel everything on the road. Every little bump, every little thing, it just pulls my car left, right. I'm still going a little fast, and I'm not saying that's do that, but
at least go the speed.
Go the speed limit. Yeah, if you're going 60, 65, I got no problem with that. That's what I was doing, because I'm terrified of my tires right now. Which brings me to my first point. Tires, they're very underestimated. We brought it up with when Matt was on here.
Yeah.
And tires are one of the most underestimated things on a car. Like, you feel something pulling, you feel a shaking, a vibration. People automatically think, oh, it's going to be a suspension part. Oh, go do my alignment. Mm-hmm. And the first thing you got to check is your tires. Your tires will tell you everything. Your tires will tell you, ooh, I got to give a quick shout out to my boy Pedro. He just joined. He's a long time listener. Hopefully he makes a comment, first time commenter, but that's my dude at work. If there's Little Caesars going down, me and Pedro are taking it out.
Shout out to Aiden Lucas.
Hi, Nino Ala, and hi, Apple. Shout out to Aiden Lucas, Alejandro Green 2.0. And our best barber in Boyle Heights.
Shout out to Senna.
Thank you for checking in. But we were going over it with Matt, and your tires, like I was saying, your tires will tell you everything. If you got shoulder wear, guess what? If you're in a car, your camber is going to be off, depending on whether it's on the inside or the outside. And when I mean shoulder wear, I mean the shoulder of the tire, or the outermost part of the tire. If you got feathering, What that means is if you put your hand across the tire, and I learned this like early on. They told me when we were doing training at Firestone, if you put your hand across the tire and it gets caught, you feel it get caught on the tread, that's feathering. So most likely your toe's going to be off. So automatically with those two things, you know your alignment's off or something's really bad. And then you got something called cupping. So if your tires are cupping, you're going to see it looks like a wave. It goes up and down.
I've never had that happen, but I've seen it and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And usually that happens, you get tire pressure, or majority of the time you're in a car, it is going to be your shock absorbers.
I don't know. You talked about it in the podcast, or you brought it up.
I think it did it like in the 1 minute thing that we were doing on Instagram.
When it bubbles. And you're like, you've seen people like just try to hammer it in.
I think we were doing.
Were we just talking?
I think we were doing someone's car. I think we were washing someone's car. And I brought it up.
Because I see the car had it and I was like, what the fuck is that? And you're like, oh, that's just the tire, the pressure of the air. And then you're like, oh, some people just hate it. And you're like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, so the sidewall of your tire where you see all the pretty things where it says Michelin, the tire size, the tire pressure, and we'll get into tire pressure too. When you the face of it's the sidewall, or you can say the face of the tire,
the part of the tire that you can see from looking at the side.
So I don't know, people think that either someone who is super old tells them like there's nothing but tubes in there like a bike, and yes, back in the 60s there was like a big ass tube, and obviously the little tires that are like 15-14 inches they have that too, but now they're wires, so it's wires that are just kind of linked up together, and then they put the rubber over it. Again, I don't necessarily know exactly how it goes, but I know there's wires in their tire that kind of give it like structure, right? And when you have a bubble on that face of the tire, that means the wire's separated and now the air's coming out. Like, think about it, if you're holding a balloon and you squeeze it and it's gonna pop out of one side. And so when you do that, if you were to do that and get another person and like touch it or like put more force on it, it's gonna pop because it has nowhere else to go. It's going through out there. And I've seen videos of people like, oh, we can hit it, like, and I've seen them, and they luckily the videos I've seen, they put it back, like they hit that bubble and it just goes in. But the worst case scenario is that thing's gonna blow up on you. And when I say blow up on you, it's gonna blow up on you. You got to think about it. When people say, oh, where's my tire pressure, it's rated at PSI, pounds per square inch. So it's pressurized. Think about a crock pot, a pressure cooker. If you were just to open something like that, all that pressure's got to go somewhere, and it's going to shoot in your face.
It's going to go the only place that it has room to go.
Exactly. So when you're talking about tires, when you're talking about suspension, cars, this and that, if you feel a vibration, if you feel your car pulling left or right, and you're like, it's gonna be my alignment, just do my alignment. Just take a look at your tires. It's gonna tell you everything. I'm telling you, it's gonna tell you everything. I don't know how many times, even where I'm at now, where we work on semi trucks, people will come in, oh, I feel a vibration. My truck is pulling left, it's pulling right, and then we check the alignment and it's fine, and they're mad, and we're telling them it's your tires. And of course, tires can get very expensive, and that too, you got to kind of find a middle ground. You don't want Ling Longs, you don't want Tiger Paws, you don't want those cheap, super cheap Chinese tires. I get it. Yeah, if you're in a pinch, for sure, by all means, if that's all they got, go for it. But if you can, I'm not saying go out there and get Continentals and the super mega Bridgestone Potenzas or the super high end Michelin. If you could find an all season tire that's good, then by all means go for it. Get that middle ground. I really like Firestone. They have, or Bridgestone. They have oh my god, what is it called? It's called Drive Guard. It's called the Drive Guard technology, and all that is that the sidewalls are reinforced, and so now what you can do is, I believe you were able to drive up to 50 miles on a flat tire, on a punctured tire. So it's not going to go completely all the way down because of the structure of the sidewall. It's going to stay strong, and your tires not necessarily going to be flat, so you can get to where you got to be, and you can patch those tires. So it's like you can keep going, and just look at your tires before you get mad at your mechanic, before you get mad at your alignment guy, and say this. Just check your tires.
That's the easiest thing to do.
And when you do the tire pressure, I know on the semi trucks we go based off the sidewall, but when you're talking about a car, a truck, SUV, definitely go based off the door jamb. The door jam's going to tell you, the manufacturer will specify, hey, these got to be at 35. They got to be at 25, they got to be at 30, 45, all different kinds of numbers. And not one car is the same as the other. Yes, all Honda Civics are going to be the same, but it's not going to be the same as a Toyota Camry.
Different load capacity.
Go by the door, Jam. If you're the driver, you open the door, it's down to your left. You can see it there. It'll tell you. Because if you go based off the sidewall on a car, it's going to say, if you read it, it'll say maximum PSI 50. Well, guess what? If you put it at that 50,
that shit's going to explode.
It'll yes. And it'll also start bouncing. You're going to feel it. You're going to hear it. And again, like, you're going to blame it on your alignment guy, your mechanic. And it's like, no, well, you put it at 50. They got to be at 36.
That means that's the most a tire can take.
That's the most a tire can take. That's its
limit.
Yes.
So and you don't want it there. Compared to like when you put air in a basketball or a football.
Yeah.
And you put too much air in the basketball, it's just gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel like it's floating.
Yeah.
Same thing with the football. You hold the football and you try to throw it or you hold it.
Yeah, it'll feel like lighter or whatever.
And yeah, Draynot said that bubbles indicate separation.
Yeah,
that's true.
Separation from the wires that are inside.
And then people going with the cords showing they want an oil change. I've seen that, dude.
Yeah.
When I was working where you work.
Yeah, people
would come in and Matt would be arguing with them like, bro, no, you need a new tire. Like the wires are showing, and they would tell me too if the wire is showing, no matter how new it is or whatever, how good it is, if the wire is showing, it's done. There's no way you can. Yeah. You can't repair it. There's no way to repair that. The wire is showing. Get rid of it. It's junk.
That's it. It's done. And people think like, oh, it's just a cash grab or this and that. And then
dude.
What you could do too, you can always, for one, keep your receipts. Remember where you got the tires from. If it is a Firestone or Advanced Auto Parts because it's part of Pep Boys now, you can always go back. That's what the dot numbers are for. There was a time where we were at Firestone and the person was like, I just got these tires. They're brand new. And then we look at them and they were like a year and a half old. And we were like, are you sure? Because at Firestone, if you bring your own tires, they had to be brand spanking new. We couldn't install used old tires. And he was like, yeah. And it went from, yeah, they're brand new to, well, I bought them on eBay. I was like, okay. So are they used? And he was like, no. We installed the tire. We put it on. It's already leaking air. And we're like, well, it's got to be used now because we can't even. And the guy kind of got mad, but we were like, look, it has those dot numbers for a reason. Like it's law. It'll tell you everything. Like if you go more into those numbers, it'll fucking tell you where it was made, what part of China, what part of the continent that it was made in. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It goes back to the whole thing. Mechanics are all shady. Some of them are shady. You can't trust them. But the thing is, those dot numbers won't lie to you. They won't lie to you at all. If you see those dot numbers and it says, okay, those dot numbers are usually highlighted and it's circled or squared.
It's like
and it'll
like brailled out too.
Yeah, and
like
it'll basically have like the VIN number of the tire. It'll have like a couple letters, numbers before, and then it'll say like 23 or 0524. The 05 stands for the week that it was made in, and then the last two numbers stand for the year. Mm-hmm. So if you get a tire and the last two numbers on it say 19, definitely stay away from that. We're in 2024. A 5-year-old tire.
I think the max is 5, right? Well, I was told it was like 5, 6.
It's 5.
Like pushing it.
A lot of people say 5, don't do it. When I was at Firestone, they were like, if they bought it and they ran on it and it looks good, there's no abnormal wear. If it's 10, you're pushing it. You could get up to 10. After 10, just completely stay away from it. Even 5. And that's one of the things that can just help you too. Even if you buy a used tire, don't get me wrong, go ahead, buy all the used tires you want. Just make sure there's not a bunch of patches in it. You shouldn't have more than 2 patches in a tire. You can get away with the 3, but I wouldn't recommend it just because you have to grind the tire down. And
you pretty much gotta make the hole bigger. Fill the hole in.
Exactly. You fill the hole and make sure when they patch your tire, it's a patch and plug. So you'll see it. It literally it's a circle or a square, whatever shape it is, and then it has like a nipple going through it. You want to patch and plug because just the patch, it'll get you through it, but you're gonna leak air. You're most likely gonna leak air.
Putting a sticker on.
If it's just a plug, it's not sufficient. They're just not sufficient fixes, and you're gonna end up coming back, and you don't want to repatch a patch. So patch and plug. If the tire's used, make sure it's 3 years old. I wouldn't anything longer than that. Make sure the tread's fine, and check those dot numbers. Check those dot numbers all the time.
Honestly,
and
check the last 2 numbers. Check the year.
Check the year.
Check the year first.
Because even that, obviously, you're not selling tires like crazy at times. Sometimes your tires are an odd size, or you want a different size. And just because a tire is from 2022 doesn't necessarily mean it's old or used. Like, we'll keep. I think at Firestone we kept tires on the shelf again up to 5 years or 3. And then we started tossing them. Luckily, it's a big corporation, so people come consistently, but we would sell like a year old tire that was on the shelf, but it's a year old. It's never been touched, never been ridden on, and it's fine. It still works. The rubber's fine. So if you buy a new tire and you see that it's from 2023, then you can go into the week. Like if it's 45-23, that means it was the 45th week of 2023. So towards the end of the year of 2023. And if you're that much of a stickler, you can be like, oh, okay, well, at least it was in the last month of 2023. Yeah. But tires will tell you a lot. Tires will tell you a lot about what's going on with your car. A lot of times people come in, you'll do the alignment, and you're telling them like, oh, there's shoulder wear. Well, the alignment will fix that. Like, no, for sure. It'll fix it over time. And then people will drive around the block and come back and they're like, it's still pulling. Well, yeah, obviously your tire's still worn out on the outer edge. Like drive it a little bit more and it'll level out, because now your alignment's in spec and your tires should be hitting like not completely flat, but it should be leveling out. It shouldn't
be bouncing around.
Yeah, it shouldn't be bouncing around.
Feel like you're bouncing around.
So always check your tire pressure. At Firestone, we would do it for free. Definitely tip the dude, because they're coming off a job. Like a lot of people would come, excuse me, can you help me? And you're in the middle of doing brakes or an oil change, and you would get off that car and like, oh yeah, how can I help you? Oh yeah, my tire pressure light is on. Da 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 da. All right, cool. So you air up the tires, and again, it's something simple, but it's like if you're asking someone to do it, then it's not that simple for you.
Step away from a job they were already doing will help you out.
Yeah, and again, we don't get paid to put air in your tires. So definitely, even if it's $2, $3, like to change it's fine. But definitely tip the person putting air in your tire. Because that too, sometimes we got to reset the TPMS light. People don't know. And don't freak out.
That's what happened with me. Remember? Yeah. Now that you're about I had to change. Mm-hmm. Well, my front passenger tire was bad. It was bald completely. And I think I told you after a point, I was like, hey, dude, like if your tire's bald, will it hold air? And you're like, it depends. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, my tire's bald and it's not holding air. And you're like, well, change it. And I was like, all right. So I think the next day I went and I got 2 new tires in the front, and I took out that bald tire and I put my rear driver side tire was messed up too. Mm-hmm. So they moved the one that was on the driver's side in the front to the back. So I have 2 new ones in the front and then the 2 old ones in the back.
Yeah.
Where was I going with this? What did you bring up?
The TPMS.
Oh yeah, and then so the front passenger tire was messed up.
Yeah.
And because I didn't reset my TPMS, it kept showing that it was still messed up because I was reading the air pressure previously of the previous air, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So I remember I drove it. I think I changed it when I got out of work. The following day when I woke up to go to work, it came on again. And I was like, "There's no fucking way." And I checked, and I was like, "It's fine." And then again, I called my local mechanic. I hit you up, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like it's still showing." You're like, "Well, did you change it?" And I was like,
"Yeah, did you reset it or
like, no?" And you're like, "Well, do it, and then see if it works." And I was like, "Okay." So there I go in my car. I've never fucking found the setting in my car I'm looking for, and then I finally found it. TPMS setting. And it says, I do it. I started doing it when I get home because I can't move the stuff while the car's moving.
It won't let you when
you're moving. I'm in the garage. I'm trying to change it, and then it says, okay, reset it, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, like, oh, drive the car around for at least 20 minutes to reset the sensor again. And I was like, motherfucker. So did it? I was just driving around the block, and then finally they reset, and then there it was fine. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know that, dude. I didn't know you had to. I guess not put the tire in.
No.
Same thing when you change my oil. The first time that I got my oil changed by you.
Yeah, you got to go through the settings.
You told me, like, oh, make sure to do that. And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know how to fucking do that.
A lot of times, these newer cars, they allow you to do that. Like, before, like the older Corollas, I think you still could do it with that little knob, and you would push it. But if not, if you can't find it in the settings, or if you're going through it and you don't see anything, more than likely just a couple trips around the block is gonna do it. Because you got to think about it. It's gotta measure the air in your tire, but it's also got to kind of as dumb as it sounds, kind of like feel its way around the tire. It's gotta go around to what's going on. And that too, that would be one of the big complaints. Like, oh, you put air in my tire, but you know, my light is still on. And we would tell them all the time, well, all you gotta do is drive for about 15 minutes, maybe even around the block. And a lot of times people would get mad and they're like, they just thought like we didn't finish the job, and they would do like, fine, like I'm leaving. And then like as soon as they would pull out of the parking lot, they're like, oh, it came off. Like, yeah, we know that. Dick. We know that.
We told you.
Yeah. And then one of the other things too, a useful tip, if you have a car and it tells you the tire pressure on each side, so it'll show your car, it'll give a little figure, and then it'll say like 35 psi on the left, 35 on the right, front right, rear, da 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 da. If it does that and you do a tire rotation, and they have to reset the TPMS too, because if you move your rear tires to the front and your front to the rear, the computer, the sensors, they're still going to think your rear tires are in the rear and your front tires are in the front. And a lot of times people would come in for that too. They'd be like, hey, we did a tire rotation and it's saying that my left rear is down, but it's fine, and my front right is the one that's lower. And it's like, okay, well, did they reset the TPMS sensors? And they're always like, no. So we would have to, you know, fill up the air and then go around. It doesn't take long. It's a little machine. You plug it into the OBD2. You just you scan it, and it literally, if you're a mechanic and you're trying to get into this, and you're kind of like, that's honestly, I tell everybody at work right now, like, you can make so much money just resetting TPMS lights, because all you really need would be like an air compressor that gets up to like 100 psi, so that way you can just check the tire pressure. And then you buy one of these machines that'll probably cost you like $300-$400, but you'll make that money back quick, because you'll be like, oh, I could reset it. And then it tells you like, oh, turn the car on, like OBD2 scanner tells you to turn the car on. It gives you your make, model, submodel. Does it have a bunch of the Lexuses and Toyotas? It'd be like, does it have a full size spare in the rear? Yes. Okay. Well, that one has a TPMS sensor too. And then it'll tell you, okay, scan the left front, and it'll read the radio wave. Go scan the front right. And then you just go do all that. And then boom, it's reset. And it knows, okay, the left front tire is the left front tire.
Check a factory
blah,
reset.
blah, blah. Yeah.
Everything back to where.
And like I said, you can make so much money off that, just people off the highway. And it's not that hard. And people would always get that confused, or they would freak out. And it's like, no, just, you know, calm down. Like, it's just, they're just changed different.
It's just modern technology.
Yeah.
I think I've only dealt with a spare. Oh, we're talking about the same thing, like when pickup trucks, where you have to like kind of unscrew it from the bottom.
Yeah, from the bottom,
and it kind of goes down
from the lift gate.
I've only had to do that once, and I might have been Dad's old truck.
Yeah,
the Infiniti, or it might have been the Jeep that we used to have,
probably.
And I was like, "Dude, what the fuck is it?" I thought they were all in the trunk, and that one you had to have you had to get the little handle from the jack, and go under the car, and I was like, "Okay, how the fuck am I gonna go under the car if I need the jack?"
Yeah,
I need the handle of the jack to bring the tire down, but I can't get under there.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. You gotta. It's pretty annoying. That would get annoying too. People would always come in like, "Oh, put me on my spare." I was like, "Oh, fuck, all right, we'll do it." That too. Okay, listen, I get flat tires happen randomly, you know, and you're just like, "Oh shoot, let me pull in here," but you know what's in your trunk. You know what's in your trunk because you're like, I've been pushing this aside for the longest. So if you have half your laundry in your trunk, and I'm like, okay, you know where your spare tire's at? Yeah, it's in the trunk. And you make no effort to move all your shit. Guess what? I'm the asshole that's gonna. Oh, my gloves are still greasy.
I'm touching everything.
I'm touching everything.
Fuck, I would too.
Screw you, man. And they'll just be, people will just watch you. Like, oh, they're like, oh, you're gonna touch that? Like, well, are you? And they're just like, nah, like you got it. I hate that. And like I said, I understand it happens at the worst times, and you know, but if you move a couple things, I'm not saying clear it all out. I'm just saying if you move the big
so
stuff,
you can get to the damn tires.
Yeah, if you have luggage and you just put it in the passenger seat. Oh, sorry. Oh, let me move this. I'm gonna be like, thank you. It's gonna be so much better. And it's the worst, and people just think like, oh, this asshole.
Wheel locks are another thing.
Wheel locks.
My God, dude. I've never dealt with one, but you've told me stories about people with wheel locks.
Wheel locks are the worst.
God.
Listen, okay, so let's break down these wheel locks, right? So if you don't have a wheel lock, or you don't know what a wheel lock is, either you don't have one, or you have yet to take off your tires. So on cars that don't have wheel locks, you can just walk up to them, jack them up, and you can take wheels. And that's what happens a lot of the times. A bunch of aftermarket wheels, they come with their own wheel lock because the lug nuts aren't the same. Honda does it. BMW does it. Some Dodges do it. I've seen it. And what it is, it's a special lug nut. And you have a wheel lock or a key or a wheel lock key, whatever you want to call it. It's usually in the trunk with your spare tire. And all it is, it's a special socket so people can't take off that one lug nut.
Different size for that one lug
without that key. It's usually got like a star pattern in it. Oh yeah, Nana has one. Yeah, we were looking for that for a minute. It usually has like a star pattern in it. It looks different. You got to put that over the lug nut, and then you put your impact gun over it, and then you can take it out. Well, Hondas, they're a dime a dozen. A lot of people, they're kind of all the same. Again, we usually find them either in the glove box or in the spare tire because, of course, when you're going to take off the wheel, where are you going to go? You're going to go to the spare tire, so it'll be there. Definitely check if you have one. I'm telling you, you'll see it on the face. It's a star. And then find out where your wheel lock is at. Because, again, if I'm going through your trunk searching for this tiny thing and you're like, oh, well, I don't know where it's at, and you didn't move anything, you're not making the effort, I'm going to be pissed off. And then you're like, oh, it's kind of in the glove box. And if you have a wheel lock, don't lose it. Do not ever lose it. Or if you lose it,
you're fucked.
Replace it right away. This is a dealer item. This ain't something you're going to go to AutoZone to unless you have aftermarket. This ain't something you can just pick up at O'Reilly's or, oh, I think my buddy has a random one. He's a mechanic. No. A bunch of these lug nuts aren't the same. Again, Hondas pretty much are. And people would come in, they're like, oh, you don't have a master one? No, this isn't the fucking key to the city. One? I'm not the mayor. I don't have one key that opens every door. Guy. No, they're all different. And the thing is, we would get some random ones. Like we would buy some or we would have some. So we had this big ass bucket.
And just hope that they fit if they didn't.
Yes. And our boss would be like, oh, just go check if we have it. So I would spend 15 minutes and then be like, we don't have it. And the customer would get mad at me. Well, how do you not have a master one?
How do you not have it? You own the car.
Yeah, it's your car. Get out of here. And see, the Honda ones and some of they're the simpler ones. And when I say simple, they don't have this O-ring around it. We can get around it and we tell them, all right, we can take it off. We have an extractor tool, but once it's done, you're going to need to go either replace it with the regular lug nut or get the wheel lock again because this is junk now. We just smashed it in, and this extractor nut has like spiraled rivets in it, and you smash it in there. Boom!
So you force it.
You force it in there, and since they're spiraled, when you put it with the impact gun, it'll catch it and pull it out. But then it ruins the integrity of it. So yeah, it strips the outside of it. You're not gonna be able to get the wheel lock on after. So we would do that. And the thing with these BMW ones and a couple of I think GM ones, they had this O-ring in it. And before I got to Firestone there, they had told me that these ones, you can't smash them. If you smash that O-ring, that thing's stuck on there forever. You either gotta grind it out. This was Thanksgiving. It was Wednesday.
Out of all days.
Mini Cooper pulls up. This girl, she's frantic. Oh my God, my tire's flat. This and that. No. Okay. And again, she was going to see family. Her car was packed. It's a Mini Cooper. It's packed. We're already about to close. Out of the kindness of my heart, I was like, okay, let's help her out. Let's get it done quick. We were already closing up. Let's get it done quick. And she's like, oh, okay. We're like, okay, well, where's your wheel lock? What is that? So you see, and I'm there outside. I'm like, you have one special lug nut. We don't have it for that. You need to find that for me to take the wheel off and repair your tire. She's like, oh my God, what if I can't find it? You're going to have to leave your car here or you're going to have to get it towed somewhere else. And she was like, but it's Wednesday. Oh, my dad, and I gotta go see my dad. And again, I hear your story. I'm already feeling sorry for you because the day's already ending. I'm trying to do this as best as I can. I understand. You have to understand. I celebrate Thanksgiving too, and I'm trying to go home. You think I want to be here dealing with you? No. So she's like, where could it be? Glove box or where your spare tire's at? Looks in the glove box. No, is this it? It's like a pen cap. Like, no, you know that's a pen cap. Like, you know this is that. Like, you threw that junk in there. No, it's not that. Looks in the trunk. I don't find it. Where could it be in the trunk? And see, when they do these, they usually, I don't know if you've seen like some cars, they have the foam in the back, the little inserts where you put your jack and all that. It has it has like a little square, and it's like boop. It's there it's it. And so I was like, it should be there. I don't know where you left it. And she was one of the ones, well, can't you just take it off? Like, don't you have like the one that takes all of them off? No. Well, where can I get it? You got to call the dealership. And so this was one of the ones that had that O-ring. And I was like, normally we could be able to take it off, but if we try and hammer that, it's going to get worse. You're not going to be able to take it off at all. It's like, well, then what? And I'm like, then you're going to have to cut it off. You're going to have to go to the dealer for sure. You're going to be left without one. Yeah. It's going to be bad. You're going to have to change the wheel stud. You're probably going to have to change the rim because you're going to have to cut it because it's flush with the rim. And so she was like, oh, and she called the dealership and she called the parts department. I hear her. She's like on speaker. I'm like moving our cones in, you know.
Yeah, they're closing.
Yeah, I'm already closing, like leading, like, and I hear it, and I felt bad for her, but she was giving me attitude. She was being dumb. Like, if it was my fault, again, you get flat tires at the worst time, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm here to just fix it. I can't, I can't fix your life. I can't fix the whole situation. I got no control whether or not you have your wheel lock. I got no control over that. And so I'm like, all right, at this point, she was like getting me mad because she's like, you guys, I remember vividly because my boss was there and she was like, oh, you guys are ruining my holidays. You're ruining my Thanksgiving. I was like, no, this wasn't us. This was an act of God. He's teaching you a lesson right now, and you're failing. What's the saying? Like, he gives his
the strongest people the hardest
challenges, strongest soldier. And let me tell you, she wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of the strong ones, bro. And so she's going crazy. She's talking to the parts department, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, your make model." Oh no, okay, yeah, we got it. She's like, "Okay, cool. When can I pick it up?" And he's like, "You got to come right now. We close like in 45 minutes. Will you be able to make it?" And she called like I don't know what Mini Cooper BMW dealership, and she was like, "No, like, can you have it delivered?" And he was like, "Yeah, we could have it on Monday." Oh my God. Or Friday. He's like, but I need it now. And she's like, well, man, we're closing in an hour. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so we're closed.
Fucking drivers are gone.
I can only, he literally said that. I think he was saying that. He was like, I'm just in the parts department. I'm not the driver. I just take the orders. Like, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. And the same thing, she started telling, you're ruining my Thanksgiving. My dad's waiting for me.
No. Tell that fool to come pick you up. He's waiting for you.
So it was that whole thing, and we just kept going back and forth. Obviously no answer that I was giving her, my boss was giving her was going to be the right one. We kept telling her, hey, if we do this, we're going to break it, and it's just going to get worse. The best thing you could do, just leave it here, wait till Friday where we can figure something out. And she was like, okay. She finally called an Uber. She was emptying out her car because, again, it was Thanksgiving. It was a long weekend, and she was gonna have dinner. She was I don't know. I think she had presents because she wasn't gonna see family for Christmas, and so she's filling it out. And I'm waiting for her because at this point she's like, okay, I'm gonna leave the car here. And when we do that, if we can put a car into the shop, we'll do it. If the shop's not full, because obviously it's like, well, one, it's the long weekend. We're not going to be back till Friday or what have you. So let's put the car in so that for sure nothing gets stolen. They have to break into the shop in order to break into the car. So it's in the middle of the parking lot. I'm waiting there. She goes, okay, bye. I need your key. She turns around. She's like, well, what do you need my key for? What do you mean? I was like, I'm going to put it in the shop. She had the audacity to look me in the eye, and she goes, I don't trust you. I feel like you're going to do something to my car. Bitch. You don't trust me, but you trusted me 10 minutes ago when you pulled up to get your tire fixed. Oh, where's the trust now? And I looked at her and I was like, well, ma'am, I'm going to leave right now. I'm not going to do anything to your car. I'm pulling it in so that no one steals anything from out here. Again, we're not going to be here tonight. We're not going to be here tomorrow. we're not going to see the car again until Friday. And then I told her, I was like, if you want to leave it out here, you definitely can. But if you're going to take the keys, it's going to stay out here. If you leave the keys with us, it's going to go into the shop, and then the keys, we would put them in a safe. And she was just like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, then leave it, like take it.
I would have been like,
that.
bitch, all right, ladies.
Yeah, like
I hope
it's
they
that.
take your fucking car.
Yeah, it's that, or I hope busted windows. Like, what are you thinking? Moral of the story is you gotta know your car. Like, I understand people just buy it because they buy it, but don't be afraid to ask questions when you're buying it. You know, like, oh, again, now that you've heard this, like, you're buying a new car, just ask, does this one carry a wheel lock? And it's not like it's something you have to buy that's extra.
If it has the damn car.
Yeah, if you do have wheel locks on your wheels, then it's gonna come with the key. It's gonna come with it, and you can just ask them like, "Oh, where is it?" And if they don't know where it's at, then they're idiots. Go find another salesman and
don't buy your car.
Yeah, don't buy your car there. But just, you know, now that you have this knowledge, again, not everybody knows it, but it's kind of just simple stuff that we see happen way too often.
And once you find out where it's at, don't forget.
Yeah, don't forget. A lot of people, what they would do too, they would leave it in their glove box, and that's perfectly fine too. And because they would know, and we love those people because they were like, "Oh, it's in the glove box," or "I left it in the cup holder." If you're gonna do that, or they would hand it to us like here, and that's perfect because one, we don't have to dig through your trunk and all your garbage that's back there,
and go through the bucket of the spares.
Yeah, and go through the bucket. No, because you know where it's at. So. Yeah, Dreadnought brought up a good point. Wheel locks are they can be the best thing. Man. They could be the best thing, or they can be the worst thing. Again, anti-theft. It's great. Like I said, you can't be just a random fool with a 19mm socket or a 21mm socket and just taking wheels off.
You're not gonna be one of those cars you see on brakes in the middle of the street.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that too. I would see people. They would come in when they would change their spare tire, and they would put 2 wheel locks on one wheel, and it defeats the purpose. Because now you have one wheel that doesn't have a wheel lock, and they can just take that one wheel, right? So it should be one per wheel. I also saw a video of someone asked, like, I want a wheel lock, a different wheel lock for every wheel stud. So they had 5 different wheel locks. So, in total, what is it? They had 20 wheel locks, not different, but 20 wheel locks, because the front, the rear, and those things too, they don't necessarily set your wheel like straight, so it'll wobble a little. It's only supposed to be for one. Don't be that asshole that has 5 different wheel locks because you have a wheel lock on every stud. It's just, one's fine. Yeah. One's enough.
20 different keys.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need that. Just one's enough. And just remember where it's at. And if you're a BMW owner or a Mini Cooper, any of your cars are made by BMW, just know your wheel lock shouldn't. From what I heard, I never wanted to try it. If you've done it, then by all means go for it. But I wouldn't try and break those off because I wouldn't want to be stuck somewhere.
Then again, don't be buying no BMWs. Don't get Audis. Don't get none of that. Not hating on those cars. They're nice cars, but they're not good cars.
Yeah, for sure.
Stay away from Germans.
I know that the newer cars, they're more reliable, but they are kind of they're different to work on.
In the ass.
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass.
From what I've heard, from what you've told me, I personally have not worked on cars.
Like the new Mini Coopers, they're a pain in the ass to do the oil change. Everything's just so compact, and then it's not a regular bolt. It's a Torx bolt. You can strip that really fast. The earlier BMWs, like 2000s, 2010s, they tend to leak, and they usually leak from the rear main seal or the transmission pan. And to get those off, you kind of got to take off the subframe. Again, they are cool. I do like the BMW stance, and they're fast cars. Mercedes, they have their quote unquote bi-turbo cars, and they are quick and everything. But when something goes out, they're not necessarily cheap, and they do leak a lot, whether it's coolant or oil, and then it's a whole other thing to repair it. Which brings another point. If you're buying a car too, look up the maintenance stuff. So
ask for the Carfax.
No, honestly, yeah. Show me the Carfax.
Ask for the Carfax.
And it could be, just because it's a salvage title doesn't mean it's the worst. It could have been fixed. But if a car has 50,000 miles and you're looking to get into it, well, literally look up. Okay, 2017 Honda Civic 50,000 mile maintenance requirements, and it'll tell you, like other simple stuff. It might be like spark plugs. It might be the brake fluid or a tire rotation or two, a transmission flush, different things. And you can find all that on the internet. The greatest thing about modern times is that you can find pretty much anything on the internet. So you go through it, you put in the mileage of the car, what's the maintenance required for this? And then you can go to the seller and, hey, have you changed the brake fluid or have you done a radiator flush? And if they're kind of caught like, oh, no, I'm not saying it's going to be the worst car ever, but then you can get an idea of like, okay, this dude didn't care about their car. This person didn't care about their car.
The regular maintenance is well maintained.
It's like, oh, when did you change the spark plugs? And if they're like, oh, I haven't, then kind of, either you can negotiate the price.
$1,000 less than the price.
Yeah, you can negotiate the price, or you can either step away from it, or if they're really good on it, then be like, okay, well, it's a good way to assume that the car is pretty good too. It's running well. Because that's one of the main things. I know you see a lot of people with money and really big car collectors, famous people. If they're doing it right, that's one of the things they ask. I know if you're buying Porsches, at like 60,000 miles, 100,000 miles, you have to do like super big jobs, Ferraris and all that. It's like, they say like, change the motor mounts, do all this. And those guys, before they're buying the cars, they're asking those questions, and it does help out because, again, it's like if the car's not registered, right? You're gonna, once it's handed over to you, you're gonna have to pay that registration, and you could be like, okay, well, how much is the registration? Oh, it's $200. Okay, well, can we knock that price off because now I gotta pay it because you didn't pay it? And the same thing, if you're selling a car, it's gonna benefit you if you do those maintenance points. You change spark plugs.
It's simple maintenance. It's simple. If you rebuild the engine,
no. If it's
oil changes,
if it's spark plugs, or like even if it's kind of semi big, like a suspension part, like shocks. I'm telling you, you change those little things, and guess what? Your car's gonna be $1,000 more.
Yep,
and it's gonna benefit you.
It's gonna hold its value.
And if you already have the car too, like go through that as well. Look it up. Go through Honda, go through Toyota, see what you got to do, and be like, oh, shoot. And again, I'm not saying like, oh, you're going to die or the car's going to blow up, but definitely if you need to change the spark plugs, change the spark plugs. If
you want it to last.
Yeah, if you want to last a little bit longer. Because you do hear about those stories, those rare occurrences where people are like, oh, I've never done the oil change. I've never changed the spark plugs. It's fine. And yes, it's fine, but they're getting like, their fuel economy is like 5 miles less or 10 miles less. Or it's like, yeah, it just shakes a lot, but it's fine. Or it doesn't idle right. And it's like, okay, well, this could be changed if you just did these couple of things. And it's just something to know, something to be noted. I don't even know how we ended up here, but I'm just, people
maintain your damn vehicles, guys.
Just get it together, man.
Maintain your vehicles inside and out. Get a detail.
Yeah, that too, detailed. We've talked about this too. I think the first time you were on the podcast, when we thought you were just going to be a guest, you legit went through it. Like, it's easier to maintain. Like, one of the things that Robley would say, like when we would during the end of football season, he would say like, it's easier to keep lifting.
It's easier to stay in shape than to get fat and have to start
all over again, which is true. You just keep it going. Anything for a car. Yeah, shout out to Robley. Shout out to Rodolfo
from the football coach. Yeah, man. Like my brother said, same thing with the maintenance. You gotta maintain the exterior of your car. You want the paint. I just can't tell you how many times people have, like, the paint is just bad. There's no way to say it's bad, and it's because they've never gotten the car wax.
How far?
People have never gotten their car wax. That too. If you don't want to pay like ceramic coating a car is really good.
Yeah.
If I can afford it myself, I would do it.
No, yeah,
it's really good. That'll make your car last years because ceramic coating will last 5 to 10 years sometimes.
For sure.
If you don't want to do that, dude, wax your car. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Just get a nice wax.
A wax will last you a month to 2 months, depending on where you store the car. If it's like if it's raining and stuff, the wax is gonna come off. You keep it in the garage. It's gonna last a little longer.
And it's more forgiving than the ceramic coating, right? Yeah. As in, like, if you leave it a little bit longer without buffing it, like, you can still buff it off.
Yeah, because the ceramic coating, it's really good. It'll last. Some of them last 10, 15 years, but they haven't seen what happens after it wears off. Like, they haven't gone that far in the studies of the ceramic coating. I'm not saying don't get it because I want to get it for my car. And with the ceramic coating,
it's still kind of in the early stages of development.
With the ceramic coating, they say, like, for mine on your car, where it has it's all swirled up and stuff. you would have to.
Dreadnought said, "Dirty car equals red flag."
Man, if you would see our cars right now,
I would agree with you, but I'm a driving red flag.
My car is disgusting, and I'm a detailer. I hate pulling up to cars and like that's your car, bro. Anyway, the ceramic coating you gotta polish the car. So like if this was you get the compound, the polish, and then the
step by step,
the wax, and then it could be a 1-step correction, 2-step correction. All it does is it fills in the scratches. It fills in the scratches. It brings the shine back in with the ceramic coating. After you got everything back in shiny. The ceramic coating is pretty much the best way to compare it is another clear coat.
Yeah.
The difference between a ceramic coating and a wax is a wax doesn't bond with the paint of the car. A wax is just another layer on top of the paint. The ceramic coating bonds with the clear coat. So to get all scientific and stuff, it sticks with the cell it becomes one
down to the molecular level.
Yeah, it becomes one with the paint of the car. That's why it lasts longer because it becomes part of the paint.
Part of the car.
The molecules become part of the paint. A wax is just another layer on top of the car, which is still not bad.
No.
We waxed our cars for a long time, and our cars are not bad. It's just small swirls and stuff, but that's the best way to maintain it. Wax it. I would say wax it at least once a month, and wash your car at least once a month outside.
Oh yeah,
because I've gone to detail cars and they're like, oh, I have this over here and I have this dirt or whatever, or this tar, and I haven't. Okay, I always ask, when's the last time you detailed your car? Oh, it's been like 4 or 5 months, dude. This is not gonna change anything.
Yeah, it's not gonna do much.
I'll take the dirt off, but your paint is still gonna look dull. It's not gonna shine. I promise you, it's not gonna shine. And it's because the same thing, like you said, maintain the car, dude. Maintain the car, and it's not hard. You could do it yourself.
No, for sure.
Get yourself some butter wet wax, 2 towels, 2 microfiber towels, and you could do the whole car.
Get to it. Yeah,
maintain the car. It's not hard.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to keep the car going, and I get it. Everybody has lives. Everybody has other things going on. You might not be able to afford it, but it's just like, okay, you'd make this little investment now, and it's gonna go a long way.
Especially if you're planning on selling the car after.
Oh yeah, no.
Like if you want after, like say me for example, I finished paying off my car in September. Let's say I wanted to sell the car. I'm gonna have to correct the paint, wax it, maybe ceramic,
make it look as best as it can.
The paint's bad, but if I would have kept doing it how I did it when I first got the car, waxing it every month, doing this every month,
pretty pristine.
It'd be fine. Yeah. But I stopped doing it for like a year, and it got bad.
Yeah, and that too. We're telling you, we're kind of the point of this podcast is kind of to teach everybody, kind of bring you in, whether or not you're new or old. And of course we always crack jokes about the person that doesn't know and like, why would you do this? But I guess that's kind of how what we've been around, right? When you're in football, you don't know the scheme where you get laid out, you're gonna get made fun of, but guess what? You're gonna learn something. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do this again. When you're in the world of automotive, it goes the same way. You're gonna be in a shop and you're going to leave a bolt loose or a drain plug loose, and you're going to drive the car and oil's going to splatter everywhere. Everybody's going to make fun of you, but at the end of it, you're going to remember, okay, don't do this again. Someone's going to come up to you and be like, hey, they're going to joke around, tying that drain bolt again.
Last time, don't do that.
Yeah, and it is to kind of motivate you or try and teach you, and it is its own way of being made fun of. But even if you're not taking this into consideration, another thing that people really do get made fun of, and it's like, it goes around in the shop, it's a recurring joke, is like, oh, YouTube mechanic. And yeah, my thing with that is that, like, you just got to go out there and get your hands dirty. Don't get me wrong, I use YouTube, and if you're using YouTube, got nothing wrong with that. Like we said, you can go on the internet and find anything, information for anything, and that's great. By all means, if you don't know something, you kind of have an idea. Okay, I kind of know how to do an oil change. I don't necessarily know where I should be jacking my car up. For sure, look up a video. By all means, do it. I know it gets the bad stigma of, oh, you're an idiot, you're looking up on YouTube. But again,
if you don't look it up and you jack up the car wrong,
you're gonna do something wrong. You're gonna regret it.
You're not gonna mess up the frame. You're gonna mess up the body of the car.
Oh, for sure. You're doing a lot more damage, and it goes back to just learning everything.
The fucking car's gonna flip over on you.
Yeah, you're gonna do it wrong, and it's gonna fall on you. But it just goes back to learning. We're giving you some information. If you want to go check it out, go on YouTube. And again, go on YouTube. Learn how to do something. Brakes. Learn the idea of it. There's a countless number of videos on anything. Go learn how to play the damn guitar. I don't care, but YouTube can be good and it can be bad.
Go learn something.
Yeah, go learn something. keep getting your guys' hands dirty. Find your wheel lock.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I can't.
Yeah,
I think there was one. I'm not going to say whose car because I didn't even tell them. But one time I washed wheels with a glass cleaner.
Yeah,
and I was getting mad because it wasn't coming up. It wasn't foaming up, and it wasn't getting clean. It was just getting shinier.
Like, what the hell?
I was like, what the fuck is this? And I look at the bottle. To be fair, the glass cleaner and the wheel cleaner that I bought, the bottle was the exact same shape. Usually it comes in a different shape. Or and I was like, it was a clear bottle. The glass cleaner I think was purple, like the liquid was color purple, and then the wheel cleaner was red. And it was dark.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I just grabbed it. And yeah, I'm clean. I was like, why isn't it foaming up? Like, what happened?
The more
and I go back to put it in my little caddy, and I was like, so I had to go back and re-clean the wheels again. But hey, man, you learn. Now. Yeah, you learn to label my stuff or pay attention to the stuff.
Keep them separate.
Yeah,
divide them. But yeah, it's just everything's just learning. Everything's just learning. Hopefully, you don't mess things up too bad. And if you do, well, guess what? You always got a funny story. I always say that at work too. Hey, man. If something happens, guess what? In a year from now, a couple months from now, guess what? You're going to have a good story. We're going to be laughing about this time. Or when you have your kids, like, I always help Pedro if he's still here. There was a time where I don't know what, but we would be like, oh, I'd be like, you know what, Pedro, who cares? If we fuck this up, guess what? When we get fired together and we're at our next job, we're gonna be laughing about this whole situation. It's all learning. We got fired, and yeah, of course, it's just to bring light into a situation. But it's true. Like, you're laughing at stuff you did 5-10 years ago. You're laughing at the new guy that messed up so bad because, hey, guess what? You did that or something similar to that 5 years ago. And so now you can laugh about it because you're on the other end of the spectrum and all that. But yeah, it's everything's learning. We're going to continue to learn. We're going to continue to get this podcast better. Head over to theheightsgarage.com. We dropped our Valentine's Day Love Sucks. And
check it out.
I know you're looking at the shirt. I know a lot of people probably look at the shirt and they're like, oh my God, these guys like, oh, Love Sucks. No, it's a play on words because it's a turbocharger, which turbochargers suck. And it's just a Valentine's kind of thing. I mean, you can wear it all year round, but love sucks. Turbocharger suck, and it's just it's just the way we did it, the way we designed it.
Get a shirt, man.
Get a shirt.
Not only that, you get 3 for $25 in the mystery box.
Oh yeah, mystery box.
And like I said, I think I said in the last episode, the more of your cars you guys detail, the more shirts you make, the more customization you get with the Heights Garage, the more mystery boxes you buy, the more Love Sucks shirts you buy.
Yeah,
the better our podcast studio's gonna get.
Yeah,
and let me tell you, every time we set up to do this damn podcast, we struggle.
Oh, for sure.
We're struggling to get the sound. We're struggling to get the camera angles.
Yeah, we're trying to make it as best as we can.
But hey, man, if
you got to build this brick wall every day.
Build a brick wall every time we do this. Put the signs up.
Crazy.
But the more you guys support the brand, the more it goes back into the brand. We always say this stuff does not come back to us. We have not made 1 cent off of any of this stuff. It goes back into the podcast. It goes back into more product. It goes back into more designs and
goes back to the artists.
Goes back to the artists.
We would love to pay Alfaro. So go sell out all the shirts. We came up with the idea, but he brought it to life. He designed it. He drew it out. His hands were cramping. His lines were getting squiggly because we were having too much fun. And he's actually going to be the next guest on our next episode. So definitely check out theheightsgarage.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. They're all at The Heights Garage. Get yourself some t-shirts, support the brand, support this podcast, support my brother's business, the Heights Auto Spa. Get a detail, get your hands dirty, learn something new. And as always, keep it boy Heights built.